When it comes to racing, each horse has a team behind it. There's the trainer and driver and caretaker and farrier and veterinarian and, well, you get the point. But one of the most important people backing each trotter and pacer heading behind the gate is often overlooked. And that's, of course, the owner. Yes, the person who's financially backing each Standardbred with no guarantees of a visit to victory lane or a profit. So we wanted to celebrate one of our prominent Delaware owners on today's show, Bill Sartin, and have him share his story.
My uncle Carl had racehorses when I was a kid, and I used to go with him down to Townsend where he stabled his horses, and I just couldn't wait to go with him. I loved it, and I think I was probably 12 or 13 when I jogged my first horse, and that's when I kind of got hooked. So then I would actually go spend the night with him on a Friday night because I didn't want to miss him Saturday morning going to the farm, and I fell in love with it. When I was 21, I bought my first horse with my cousin, and we were racing it at Dover and Brandywine Raceway. It was about 3 months before I was getting married, and we raced it 12 or 13 races. He had 5 wins, and all the rest were checks, and I said, this is great. But then you get married, and life changes, and your priorities change. So I sold that horse and was out of the business for a long time. As far as getting back in, it was probably 2009. 2008, 2009, I always followed it. I never gave up on them, and wanted my kids to get raised and get through college and get married, and then I knew I was going to get back in this again. And then they had these stables with fractional shares, like VIP stable, and I decided to buy a 2.5% share of a inexpensive horse just to get my feet back in, get used to the sport again, and learn as much as I could because it had changed a bit over the years. And then I started buying more and more, and finally and part of VIP stable, I would go to sales with them and talk to trainers and get as much information as I could, and I wanted to be comfortable going out on my own because that's where I wanted to be. And so, like Josh Green trained for VIP stable, and I would go over to Dovington to his barn and spend time with him and with the horses. Follow the trainers around at the sale to see what they were looking at, and just ask a lot of questions. And everybody was helpful. So January 1st, 2011, 2 friends of mine, we were talking about getting a horse, and we bought an $8,000 claimer, 3 of us, and that's how I really got back into it and went out on my own. We claimed that one at freehold, so I got licensed in New Jersey, found a trainer in New Jersey, and we raced freehold a couple starts with it, and then went to the Meadowlands, and that horse did pretty well. Made some money, sold him for a profit, and reinvested the money, and that's what I've done ever since I've been in, is just keep reinvesting. From New Jersey, I went to a trainer in New York, up in Saratoga, and while stabled there, I met an owner that trainer was dealing with who had a horse in Delaware with Roger Plant, and he wanted me to buy part of that horse, and I did. And that's how I got hooked up with Roger Plant. I was with him for a couple of years, and then decided to go separate ways. And someone said, why don't you give Joe Hunterfund a call? And I've been here with Joe for probably a little over 5 years now, and we get along great, and things are going well. Joe's pretty easy to get along with. It's funny because we bounce ideas off of each other, and it's a partnership. So, we both want to be on the same page as much as possible. And sometimes I'll ask Joe about something, and he'll say, I don't know. And basically that's a soft no with Joe. He's not interested. That's a soft no. And then if he says, I don't think so, that's a hard no. So I kind of know what he's thinking, but he's just, anything I want to bounce off of him, I'm comfortable doing it, and vice versa. Find someone that you are comfortable with, that you can trust, and just ask. Most people in this business are very helpful and willing to accommodate, so just ask questions. I found everybody very helpful.
While he presently owns about 20 horses, according to the records from the United States Trotting Association, Bill has owned or co-owned a couple hundred different horses over the years. A few of his standouts in recent seasons include Monty's Play, who was the Delaware Standardbred Owners Association's 2020 Claimer of the Meet at Harrington. Always the Sun, who was awarded the Delaware Standardbred Owners Association's 2019 Dover Downs Claimer of the Meet. And Special T Rocks, a tough older pacer with 56 wins and a mark of 148-3, who Bill co-owned for the last few years of the Standardbred's racing career before the horse retired.
Specialty Rocks, I had him for a little while, and he was a beast. He was an honest horse. He showed up for every race, and he was a barn favorite here, that's for sure.
Harness racing isn't the only sport Bill has been involved in during his life. The Bear, Delaware resident also played baseball, and when it came to bowling, he wasn't too shabby at that either.
I did 2 years of semi-pro ball. After, once you're 18, there's no place to go unless you go semi-pro or you want to play softball. And I wasn't ready for softball, so I played that for a couple of years. The team was called Delaware Destroyers, and I did that when I was 18 and 19 or 19 and 20, I'm not sure, but for 2 years I did it. It was his team, so I actually played with George Thorogood. We both played second base, and I was also a pitcher, so I did get to play even on the field with him. I got to pitch while he was playing behind me, so he was pretty cool to play with. Now, the Phillies are my favorite team, and I do still watch baseball, just so I can root against the Mets and Joe. I bowled competitively for a little while, amateur tournaments, but I was a league bowler and averaged around 200, give or take. And one night, the stars just aligned, and had to throw a perfect game. It was a lot of fun, probably the most nervous I've ever been. After you get up to that 10th ball, your legs start shaking, and but it was pretty cool. And my son's bowled 3 actually, so he said, "I'm not waiting for you, Pop. I'm moving on."
But of course, it's the sport of harness racing that has had Bill's heart since he was a kid.
Back in the day, when I did start, I would have loved to have been a driver. When we drove at Brandywine, Ross Hader drove the horse that I had at the time, and he was so cool. He said, "We got him, Junior." He just put your mind at ease, and watching these guys, and I really did want to give that a shot, but back then, the purses were only like $900, $1,200. At Brandywine, they were $2,000. And you start putting the numbers together and thinking, even if I'm successful, I'm not going to make a very good living. So decided to go another direction.
Thankfully, the road map of life brought him back to the Standardbred business, a sport that he can still take a very active part in, enjoy the thrills of being in victory lane, and appreciate the beauty of the horse.
Part of the reason I did want to get back into it is I missed being around the horses, and I like coming down to the barn. I love to watch them train. That's just to watch them out there training. That to me, that's just the basics of it. And I like to get in the bike and take them for a jog. And these guys, if I come down, they'll hand the lines over and say, "Go ahead, take this one out." It's partially the adrenaline rush you get when they're going to race. It's like when your kids are playing sports and they're coming up to bat and you're nervous for them. Same way when a horse races, I get that adrenaline rush, and it's a business too. I'm looking to make a profit where I can. So, but the adrenaline rush is probably the biggest part, and the horses themselves.